Hold on 1 minute.
You're being a big distraction, Kyle.
You ready to get started? I got to go. You got all this, didn't you?
You got to go where? All right, let's go. I think in a sport where you spend hundreds of millions of dollars to have a limit on tires is a little bit
exactly
wrong. Okay.
I like to see the cars that are the fastest up front racing there.
Well, I do too.
Not because of strategy, but because the driver and the car, they got to go race each other.
We go to races now, and they say, gentlemen, start your engines. I take that back. That's not politically correct. They say, drivers start your engines. And nobody fires their engine because they're already saving fuel.
Gas.
We used to go to races, and the point was to race.
Yeah.
Now the point sometimes is, how do we come up with a strategy to beat cars that are better than us? And I understand that. It's more strategy than it is the fastest car that wins.
We got Kyle with us to tell us how everything worked out, okay?
Yeah, but you know he's got all the answers.
I know.
And he
always have.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You was a lot smarter when you was 18-year-old or even less.
All right, what did you two think about the race? Well, the happening. I won't call it a race.
It was a tire race.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't about a race. It was according to how good your tires was at that point in time. And taking nothing away from the 3 car. He had a plan. They played it to perfection. And when they took the lead from the 12 car that time with about 40, I don't know, 50, maybe 50 laps to go, and they pitted.
But if you look back in the race, the deal, all the competition eliminated themselves.
Yeah, the good car. Yeah.
They had pit stops. One car got the 54, 45. 45 got wrecked.
Yeah.
Okay, the 11 car, the 23, the 60, they took themselves out of the race. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that really left. And the 12 never really run that good.
He had one good segment. He had a good segment when he was leading that time.
Yeah.
That was a good. Yeah. His car was hooked up then. He had one good segment. The thing is
but you don't know what kind of tires the guy behind him had.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing that's fascinating is, and you said the 23, the 45, the 11. You know, Reddick, Wallace, Hamlin, all these guys took themselves out. But the funny part is, if you go back and look at it, there was only a few laps in any segment that they actually raced each other.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, they were either out front leading or pulling away. But they never really, the way the race played out, there was always a leader that led. Yeah. But nobody came up there and kind of raced him.
Well, the only racing they had one time in the 3 and the 12 run side by side for a few laps. Yeah. And then I'm repeating myself, but the 3, quick as he passed him.
Oh, he's gone.
For the lead, he come in and pitted.
Yeah.
And finished the race. Yeah. And
but the 12 had done that to him the time before. The time before. Yeah. They beat him to the punch. Yeah. That was a great pit call. That was a great pit. That was a great strategy call.
The 48 caught the 12 car right there at last.
Because he's.
But the 12 car lost about 5 or 6 seconds.
He said it just fell off a cliff.
And then,
that's what he said. That was his quote. Yeah. It just fell off a cliff.
Yeah. But he used it up trying to make up that 5 or 6 seconds.
Right, that he lost in the pits.
He run out of tire management. Then it hurt him. So,
but really, like you said before, it came down when they threw the green flag. Like Kyle said, everybody said, "Okay, what we're going to do on tires, not what we're going to do racing each other." You know what I mean?
Okay, so let me ask you a question because we had this conversation last night. I think it's. And it puts a lot of pressure on Goodyear. I'm going to go ahead and say it puts a lot of pressure. But I think in a sport where you spend hundreds of millions of dollars to have a limit on tires is a little bit wrong. Yeah. Okay? So and I don't like that. So what I'm saying is the teams were forced to go into tire strategy because they didn't have all the tires they wanted. I think if they'd have had all the tires they wanted, then they may have run a different race.
It would have been
if
I had
20 sets laying back here, I may have gone and done what Spire did and Hocevar did and pitted every 30 laps and just jammed on new tires, and it would have been a totally different race.
I don't know where you remember or not, Richard, but one time there was trouble getting enough tires, so they made a rule where we couldn't change tires on a
caution.
On a caution.
Remember that?
Yeah, we talked about
that.
We were talking about that last night.
It only lasted one race.
That's because it was ugly.
At Martinsville, we
was ugly.
No, I believe it was Nashville, wasn't it?
Now, I told you it was Martinsville. It's Martinsville.
No, you're wrong.
No,
it's the not changing the not changing under caution was just as crazy as when you had the dot on the windshield and blue dot cars could pit on one lap and orange dot cars could pit on the next lap. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember how screwed up that was? That was another
They've
fascinating. They've tried a little bit of everything.
They've tried a little bit of everything on it.
But, during the race, we talked about it a little bit, but they put a lot of pressure on the tire people because the gas man had an easy night.
Yeah.
He didn't have to put in much gas because they couldn't go nowhere on tires.
No, they were never waiting on fuel.
Yeah.
They were never waiting on fuel.
And,
and maybe that's why they had so many mistakes, because they knew they weren't going to have to be waiting on fuel. Maybe these guys tried to pick it up because that's all we saw were tire issues.
But I wonder how many people set their cars up with a half a tank of gas,
Yeah,
'cause that would
that's a good point.
I can't do the math on what it would be, but it'd be a lot lighter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I know
it
a light
changed the whole-
race car is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
But the big deal is that when they run a race, we was talking before, I like to see the cars that are the fastest up front racing there.
Well, I do too.
Not because of strategy, but because the driver and the car, they got to go race each other and not wait on how you make a pit stop or when everything falls.
I'm going to bring up one more statement that happened in the race on account of tires. The 3 and the 12 was racing for the lead, and the 51 car come up and passed both of them.
No,
Yeah.
we were talking about that.
Yeah.
There was 3 or 4 cars come up and just blew them away like they was lap cars.
And that's hard. That's hard, and that's what we were talking about. That's hard for if you are a novice race fan or just watching the sport for the first few times. It's hard to understand how that car came and passed him, and he's not leading the race. Why is that car not leading the race?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
From a spectator standpoint, you sitting in a grandstand, no way you can keep up with all that
Yeah,
stuff.
no, you don't. Yeah.
Well, I can't keep up with watching television.
I know.
Well, you was always
Listening
behind
to it,
anyway.
but,
So.
I don't know. Kyle, who do you think has got enough clout to tell him to bring a tire like that?
So this is I don't know, because the whole sport's changed, and we were talking about it. So we were talking about last night we used to race at Daytona and Talladega, and there were 3 tires. You run the lefts and rights at Daytona, and then the right side was the left side at Talladega, and they brought another right side for Talladega. So there were 3 tire numbers for those 2 racetracks. And remember, we used to run, were they 36s, 37s,
I remember that number.
whatever. You ran them at Charlotte, Atlanta. They were like 8 or 10 tracks that we run exactly the same tire. Dover. You run the same tire at Charlotte that you run at Dover. You know what I mean? Now each track has a special
I think
tire.
somewhere where it's the drivers, and most likely not the owners, but was NASCAR or the TV or whoever is telling Goodyear, and they're working their butt off trying to please somebody. And really, they just need 4 or 5 kinds of tires and run them the rest of the year. And with that much fall off, it just really kills a race. If it's just a second fall off over a period of time, everybody can adapt to that particular deal. But when you run a tire and you run it and it falls off a second, and then all of a sudden it just quits, and you're 3 seconds slow, that just ruins everything. And Goodyear's trying to please somebody, and they're spending a lot of money and a lot of research, and I think they're wasting their time because it really messes up the racing.
But that's a great point. I think you want to see a tire that you start, and I'm just going to pick a number, and you can run a 21-second lap. And in 30 laps, you're running 2250s, okay?
Ain't bad.
Or somewhere in that range, even a little bit slower than that, second and a half.
Yeah.
But what you want to see is that 2250 or 23 flat for the rest of that run.
Yeah.
This tire will run a 21 flat, then it'll run a 2250, and then it goes to its 27 flat.
Yeah.
It just drops off it. And I think that's what Ryan said. It just falls off a cliff. And when it falls off a cliff, there's nothing anybody can do.
Yeah.
But it's a different tire from when the 3 was so good last year.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking nothing away from them because they played everything down to the till.
Yeah.
But it looked like Goodyear was trying to please the 3 car. Don't take me wrong on this. But years ago when you was the tire man for us, how mad did you get with me when I'd tell you when I tell you we need scuffs, then I change it to new ones.
Gus and new ones, and I'd have 16 tires on the wall, and we just grab one and throw it on. But so I'm going to give the 3 props. Okay, I'm going to give Austin Dillon.
Give them all the credit.
Yeah, I'm going to give Austin Dillon and Childress and all that guys, those guys props, because they left with the trophy last year with a huge cloud.
Yeah.
Under a huge cloud, and they came back.
Knowing they was going to win.
Knowing. They felt like they were going to win. They came back for redemption, and they worked their butts off and got it. And when I say that, I want to be real clear. The 3 car. The 8 car was never in the race. Kyle Busch didn't show up. And this is a racetrack that he used to just win all the time. He was not in the race. But you got to give it to Austin and to that crowd for staying focused and saying, okay, we beat him last year. We can go back and beat him again. And they did. And they did.
Even when he won the race, knocking everybody out of the way, he was way ahead when they had the caution with 2 laps to go.
Yeah.
So, he really should have won the race anyway.
Yeah, he was the better car that night.
He won the race. He was really better.
He was a better car that night than he was
this past week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. It'll be, it was tires at Richmond, and then now we're going to Daytona, and what did you say it would be?
It's going to be fuel. And the fuel. Don't we go fuel? Hey, I find it fascinating, and we were talking about this before, that we go to races now, and they say, gentlemen, start your engines.
Yeah.
And, well, I take that back. That's not politically correct. They say, drivers start your engines. They say, drivers start your engines, and nobody fires their engines because they're already saving fuel. Gas. So they dropped the green flag at Richmond, and everybody was already saving tires. What do I need an extra set of tires in that last segment? What do I do? So it's funny that we used to go to races when you raced many years ago, and the point was to race.
Yeah.
Now the point sometimes is how do we come up with a strategy to beat cars that are better than us? And I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
It's like any other sport. You try to come up with a strategy to beat a better team, but it boils down a lot of times to it's more strategy than it is the fastest car that wins.
But we're talking about saving fuel. You would think it would be to go further. It's not that.
No.
It's to make the gas man have to not put as much gas in.
Don't take much time in the pit.
Because I have heard this. I have heard this for the last, and I don't know if you've seen it. I've heard it for the last, I guess since they went to Iowa and the ARCA cars run faster than anybody out there.
Okay.
About speed. The Cup cars aren't fast enough. You got speed has nothing to do with racing.
With the race, nothing at all.
Speed is not how fast you go is not about racing.
You can race at 10 mile an hour.
Yeah, it's time over distance, and that's what they're doing with the fuel thing. Is it's the least amount of time from the time they drop the green flag to the time they throw the checkered. It's the least amount of time. It doesn't make any difference whether you run 400 miles an hour or you run 20. It's the least amount of time, and the point for the pit road thing is spend less time on pit road, then you've shortened that time over distance. And that's what it's all about. Now, every time somebody wants to talk about speed, speed's
irrelevant.
Yeah, it's
to
irrelevant.
Racing,
It's irrelevant to what racing is.
But no matter what, the fans are showing up this year most places.
They have.
And
they showed up at Richmond.
Yeah, they had a good time.
At Richmond.
But with one race, just with one race, then that brings the people out.
When they went to Pocono went to one race it totally packed the grandstands. And Iowa. Iowa, they're going to come. But think about this. Think about it, and because you guys have seen it, you lived through it. They ran. You had 2 at Darlington and 2 at Wilkesboro and 2 at Martinsville and 2 at Bristol and 2 at Charlotte because they were the only racetracks.
Right.
They were the only racetracks you had. Then in the 90s, and we've talked about this, then in the 90s, you get Texas and you get Kansas and you got Chicago and you get California and you throw in a road course or 2. The next thing you know, you're added racetracks, so somebody's got to give some up because you can't keep going 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. And when these racetracks go to 1, whether it's New Hampshire or some of these other ones, it makes it, I got to have that ticket. I got to have that ticket.
It makes it special.
It makes it special.
It makes it special.
Yeah, then it becomes a special event. It's not just another race.
But how much fun was it to run this 400-miler at Daytona at 10 o'clock on a morning, at 10 o'clock in the morning in Daytona? Then you could be in the ocean.
2 o'clock was out on the beach.
Out on the beach at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's it.
Now
perfect
all
time.
that's changed. Yeah. But it's a night race. Sunday night, ain't it? Or Saturday night?
Saturday night. Saturday night. Yeah.
All right, we'll go to Daytona and sort of see how everything plays out. This is the last race anybody's got a chance to get into the championship.
Yeah, there's going to be some strategy there.
And somebody's going to miss it, and somebody's going to miss it, and they're going to complain about something that happened in that race when they had 25 other races to go ahead and be in it.
Make up the
but they're going to blame it all on Daytona.
But this racetrack, it leaves more car that's capable of winning a race than probably any race we go to.
True.
So we'll see what happens.
That is a heck of a question.
I
don't think there's any one thing.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
It's going to be a combination of things where they give them more horsepower, or where they raise them up off the ground a little bit, or where they take some of the aero deals away, or give it more, whatever it takes. So there is a combination that will make the cars better, but right now I don't think anybody's got it figured out.
I go along with Richard. You know, we see so many new sponsors, so everything is going good that way, and we're getting pretty good crowd. So, but I think they need a change in the point system and maybe a little change to the car to make it a little bit different.
So let me ask y'all a question.
I don't answer nothing.
Yeah, we're going to go long on this question. I know we are. So let me ask y'all a question. You guys came through when you and Uncle Maurice drove a car to California and Granddaddy raced it.
Whew.
You know what I mean? Okay, so that was a stock car.
Yeah.
So this is as far away from a stock car
as you can
as we've ever been, as you've ever been in the sport. This is as far away.
Yeah.
But you guys raced bodies in white. You took stock cars and took them apart and put roll bars in them. You built tube front ends and the K-frames and put them on a stock chassis with the Chargers and some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Then you went to tube frame cars, okay? And you went to your own chassis. Then we went to bump stops. You guys have lived through every, and my point is every iteration. But every iteration of cars kind of changed what went on the racetrack, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a different show. When you showed up with a different type car, it changed. So this is a different show than what the previous show was.
Right.
Okay.
Completely.
Yeah, it's a completely different show. So it's just evolution as much as anything else. Now, let me ask you a question. And I want clarification. So, but as you change those cars, they continued to tweak those cars.
Yeah.
And get better with them.
And get better with them. So that's what this car needs more than anything else. But there's no one solution. You know, I've heard people say the sidewalls are too low. The tire patch doesn't know whether the sidewalls are low or not. You know what I mean? The 4 points that the car touches the ground. They talk about the aero and the diffuser. That horse left the barn in 82 or 83 when Bobby Allison showed up with that little Buick with the air dam on the front. That's when aero entered the sport. In a lot of ways, it was there before. Don't get me wrong, because y'all took the Chargers and stuff to the wind tunnel at Lockheed. But to understand it the way you understood it, that horse has left the barn. So what fans are asking for and what people are asking for is, I don't like this new car. Give me my 64 Impala with a lap belt. Okay? that you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. They want to go, and you can't go back.
You can't go back.
Once you go forward, you can't go back. You can tweak and you can adjust, and I will give them that. But I don't believe the racing, and I'm going to say this, I don't believe all the racing on the racetrack is as bad as what everybody says it is. I think what you have is a group of vocal drivers who are complaining about it, who complain about the car, I can't pass, it's dirty air, all this stuff. And their fans are so passionate that whatever my driver says, that's what I believe. Yeah. Whatever my driver says, that's what I do.
Let me say this. You hit a point. Ain't nothing on this car looks like a stock car.
No.
So we could take these 3 chairs and set them on an interstate and wait for a car like that to come by.
Yeah.
We ain't gonna see it.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Because it's not. It's a race car. And you know, I keep calling it a NASCAR. So let's call it a NASCAR Cup car. But it is a race car, and that's all it was designed for. And every race car that you build is not the perfect race car. We all know that. You guys built cars you couldn't even get around the racetrack.
You got to keep changing them.
You got to keep working on them.
Okay.
I guess my favorite one is watching Kyle win the race after Earnhardt eliminated them all up front. What,
That's right.
What, 6 cars? He's running.
Well,
He's running 7.
I was running fifth. He eliminated the top 4.
Okay.
Well, he eliminated 2 of them, and then Bodine got in it somehow, and then Ruttman eliminated himself. I don't know. He spun coming off forward, all by himself over there. So I don't know what the deal was.
That was, from my standpoint, that was a lot more exciting than me winning a race.
Okay, my favorite moment. I'm gonna say this. My favorite memory. Who's the guy that used to be the announcer?
Right. Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about? He would do
Bob Montgomery?
No, wasn't Bob. He would do. He did Darlington sometime too.
Yeah.
Ray Melton.
Ray Melton. So Ray Melton, you won the race. I'll never forget this. Early mid-70s, you won the race. We're in the garage area. Everybody's almost left the racetrack, and Ray Melton comes on and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, for all you people who were deprived of the most famous words in racing because Dave Marcus cranked his car right before I got ready to give the command, I'm going to give it to you now."
And remember that.
"Gentlemen, start your engines." And it was 7:30 at night. There was nobody in the grandstands. That's my favorite Richmond moment ever. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Because Marcus fired it up. Right about the time he got ready to start talking, Marcus fired up, and it just went silent, and that was it.
My favorite moment, I guess, was when we got up there and they had a list of things that was wrong with our car. Before we ever unloaded off the trailer, the motor, I don't know, I mashed my devil out of my finger trying to move the motor. And we didn't practice on Friday. We didn't let us practice on Saturday. And the promoter said, we got to have Richard in the race. And they took about, I don't know how much horsepower away from us with a plate. And it just fell right into Richard's wheelhouse. At one time, we were 6 laps on the field, so I didn't have to worry about pit stops or nothing about that. I'm saying it just But
that's good.
It fell right in our wheelhouse. We're talking about Richmond.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So the tire is what changed the race.
The tire changed the race completely.
Completely. Just like the tire changed the race at Bristol a couple of years ago. Remember when they had the tires were wearing out and you had cars running 15 miles an hour faster? The tire changed the complexion of the race.
It dictated what went on during the race. For sure.
Yeah. And I know fans think it was a good race. I don't think it was a good race.
I don't think it was either.
I didn't, from a purist standpoint, I didn't think it was a good race, but
it might have been entertaining, but it definitely was not a good race.
Yeah.
I remember when we was at Indianapolis one time and they'd grooved the racetrack and the tires would last
10 laps.
10 laps.
So they had plenty of tires, so NASCAR made a rule that there'll be a caution every 10 laps. And I remember sitting on your box, I forget who the crew chief was, and we'd come in and put tires on and giving one to go. I said, "Do you think we need to come in and top off with gas?"
Yeah,
for
we
gas
need to.
mileage?
We need
thought
to.
it was crazy.
Yeah, we were filling it. They were filling cars up on pit road with tea pitchers. That's all. That's the only fuel they needed.
Okay.
They've been working on making the car safer. But basically, when they made the car to begin with, it was too stiff.
Yeah.
In other words, when you hit anything, the car didn't give, the body had to give. Now they're working on the front and the rear so that when you do hit something, then that collapses and it's less on the body. But to me, probably the biggest one thing that they've done is the safety walls. Instead of hitting a cement wall or a guardrail and stuff, them cement walls is hard. I know. I hit a bunch of them. But that is probably the most biggest improvement. You still get the same G-force that you would if it was a cement wall, but you go into the G-force slow and come out slower, and that keeps you from having concussions, breaking things.
Yeah, but NASCAR's always worked on safety. Ain't no question about it, Richard. And they got them pretty safe. Everything going about is safe. And I don't like the car because you can't see out of them when the drivers. They only see such amount, and it puts a lot of pressure on the spotter and everything, and maybe they enjoy that. But I'd have to really trust my spotter.
Yeah. So this is what I'm going to say. I don't think so. We were talking. I made a joke a minute ago about seatbelts in a '64 Impala. Okay, so nobody thought about seatbelts in a '49 Ford.
Yeah.
Okay, they didn't think about seatbelts until the early '60s. So my point is, nobody thought about soft walls until 2001 or two. Nobody thought about a Hans collar until the early '90s, and because it's been around a pretty good while. 5-point harnesses, 6-point harnesses, whatever it may be. So the thing is, I think what it shows is, I don't think we can't sit here today and say this is what I would do to make it safer, because what's going to make it safer maybe hadn't been invented yet.
Right.
What's going to make it safer maybe hadn't come along. I am going to say this, and you know it because you've been around your whole life. You've been around it. We've lost people to the sport. You're never going to strap a guy in a hunk of metal and send him out there and say, go run as hard as you can, and it's going to be as 100% safe. It's never.
There's no such thing.
Racing's not safe. Yeah. It's just not. You make it as safe as you can, and you have to live by that same old stupid saying, safety never takes a holiday. You have to be ever vigilant and pay attention to it all the time. But the next thing that makes the car safe or makes racing safe maybe hadn't been invented yet.
Probably in the race, probably the pit crew is the most unsafe at the race.
Yeah.
During the race, I say that.